Why does every great civilization die? Why does power always rot? Why do nations rise like mountains and fall like dust? Why does history repeat the same scream again and again? Before you move even one step forward, know this. This story is yours. This channel is yours. These fallen empires are not strangers. They are your ancestors' warnings. Stay with me, because once you see the pattern, you will never see the world the same way again. From the very beginning, the holy books did not stay silent. The Torah speaks of nations that became arrogant, kings who believed their walls were stronger than God, and how their pride turned into ashes. It tells us that when justice dies, a nation starts digging its own grave. The Bible cries out the same truth. It speaks of kingdoms that gained the whole world, but lost their soul. It warns that when morality collapses, empires follow soon after. In the Quran, it speaks with thunder. It tells us about Ad, about Thamud, about Pharaoh, mighty civilizations, advanced, powerful, untouchable in their own eyes, yet wiped away like they never existed, because corruption replaced gratitude, because arrogance replaced humility. Different books, different nations, one warning, one pattern. Listen carefully, because history is not just history, it is a mirror. Imagine the first great cities, stone by stone rising from dust, humanity learning to rule land and rivers. Sumer, Akkad, Egypt, Indus Valley, these were not primitive people. They had systems, laws, engineering, trade. They had order. They had vision. But something changed. Power began to concentrate. Wealth began to rot. Elites rose above accountability. The poor became invisible. Justice slowed. Truth bent. Morality became optional. At the same time across the world, in Mesopotamia kings declared themselves gods. In Egypt Pharaoh claimed divinity. In the Indus elite classes controlled resources, while common people drowned in silence. The pattern had begun. Civilizations never fall when they are weak. They fall when they believe they can never fall. Empires expanded, armies grew, walls thickened, but inside, the soul was cracking. People stopped asking, "Is this right?" They started asking, "Is this profitable?" Religion became decoration. Law became a tool. Truth became dangerous. And this was not one land, not one nation. While Mesopotamia ruled trade, China was forming dynasties. Egypt controlled the Nile. The Indus Valley mastered urban life. Different languages, different gods, same disease, arrogance, injustice, moral decay. And then, the collapse came, sometimes slowly, sometimes overnight. Floods, invasions, economic collapse, internal rebellion. History calls them natural disasters, but the holy books call them consequences. And here is the most terrifying part. Every civilization thought, "We are different. This will not happen to us." Stay with me, because in the next part, we will walk through the great empires, Babylon, Rome, Persia, and you will see how the same invisible knife cut them all. History does not scream, it whispers, and only those who listen survive. The rise of empires always looks beautiful. Golden ages, strong armies, busy markets, grand buildings touching the sky. But behind every golden age, there is a silent decay. Babylon rose like a dream. Walls so thick that chariots raced on them. Gardens hanging in the air. Laws carved in stone. The world believed Babylon was eternal. But inside the city, justice had become selective. Power belonged to the elite. Truth was sold to the highest bidder. The poor cried quietly. The rich laughed loudly. The Torah warned them. The Bible echoed it. And the Quran later reminded humanity that when scales of justice are broken, no wall can save a nation. Babylon fell, not because its walls were weak, but because its soul had collapsed. Then came Persia, disciplined, organized, vast. From Asia to Africa, Persia respected law, protected trade, allowed religions, but power slowly changed its face. Luxury replaced simplicity, kings stopped listening, courts became theaters of flattery. The common man became distant, the ruler became divine, and Persia fell, not in one battle, but in moral exhaustion. Across the sea, Rome was rising. Rome did not conquer lands, it consumed them. Roads, law, military discipline. Rome promised order and delivered power, but power is addictive. Entertainment replaced purpose, gladiators replaced values, pleasure replaced responsibility. The family system weakened, corruption became normal, truth became negotiable. The Bible cried, "What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul?" Rome lost its soul first, then its empire. At the same time, in the East, the Han dynasty ruled China. Advanced administration, education, trade routes, but court conspiracies grew. Peasants were crushed by taxes. Morality became performance. Rebellion followed. In the Indian subcontinent, Maurya and Gupta civilizations flourished. Knowledge, science, urban planning, but caste hardened. Social justice collapsed. Power became hereditary. Again, same pattern, different lands, same mistake. Civilizations do not fall from outside, they rot from within. Now listen closely. When leaders stop fearing accountability, when religion becomes ritual without soul, when wealth gathers in a few hands, when justice becomes slow or silent, collapse has already begun. And the most dangerous stage is when people feel normal inside corruption. At that time, collapse feels impossible, but history never misses. In the deserts of Arabia, tribes were forming, trade routes were alive, Mecca was rising. Elsewhere, in Africa, kingdoms like Kush and Aksum controlled trade. In the Americas, Maya cities touched the sky. Astronomy, mathematics, architecture. But even there, elites separated themselves. Human value dropped. Ritual replaced morality. And collapse followed. Always. No exception. There is a moment in every civilization. A silent, invisible moment, when return is still possible. And then suddenly, it is not. History shows us that empires do not collapse when enemies knock at the gates. They collapse when people inside stop caring. At this stage, warnings are mocked, truth-tellers are silenced, and comfort becomes the highest god. The Quran describes this moment clearly. When nations were warned again and again, but they laughed. They said, "Who is stronger than us?" The Bible shows this moment, when prophets were ignored, because their words disturbed comfort. The Torah records it, when leaders hardened their hearts, even after clear signs. This is the final pattern. Let us walk across the world one last time. In Andalusia, Muslim Spain, knowledge, light, architecture, tolerance, libraries more than all of Europe combined. But power divided hearts, luxury softened resolve, unity shattered, and Andalusia fell. In Baghdad, house of wisdom, science, philosophy, medicine, but court politics, arrogance and division, opened doors to destruction. Baghdad burned. In the Ottoman Empire, justice systems rode stability, protected nations for centuries, but corruption crept in. Merit died. Positions were inherited, not earned. The empire faded. In Africa, Great Zimbabwe, stone cities, trade networks, elites disconnected from people, resources misused, the city emptied. In Southeast Asia, Angkor, water engineering temples, environmental neglect, rigid hierarchy, the jungle returned. In Japan, samurai honor discipline, but when power ignored reform, Isolation weakened strength. Change came through collapse and rebuilding. In the Americas, the Aztecs, the Incas, advanced agriculture, roads, administration, but leadership became oppressive. Human value dropped. Internal fractures invited destruction. They fell faster than they rose. Everywhere, every continent, every era, the same stages. Rise through discipline, stability through justice, peak through balance, then arrogance, injustice, moral decay, division, then collapse. Now listen carefully, because this is where the story turns. This is not a history lesson. This is a warning. Look around you. When truth becomes opinion, when corruption is normalized, when entertainment replaces purpose, when leaders are worshipped instead of questioned, when wealth is everything, and character is nothing, you are standing at the same edge. Civilizations never believe they are at the end. They always believe they are at the beginning of forever. That is why the fall is always shocking. The Quran ends these stories with a question. Will you not reflect? The Bible ends with a warning. Those who have ears, let them hear. The Torah reminds, choose life, not arrogance. This story was not told to scare you. It was told to wake you. Because nations do not change first. People do. If you want your civilization to survive, justice must live in homes. Truth must live in hearts. Responsibility must live in leadership. And humility must live in power. And now, before this story ends, let me speak to you as a brother. This channel is yours. These stories are yours. This history is your inheritance. If this story made you think, if it made you feel, if it shook something inside you, then stay with us, walk with us, share this story, because awareness is the first rebellion against collapse. Do not let history repeat itself in silence. This was SonOfAdam, and this story was about you.